what's good, gamers? What's good? My name is Dr. Ryan Terao, PsychSensei, and welcome to Office Hours. If you want to learn more about me and what I do, or want some additional resources, please feel free to visit my website, PsychSensei.com. There you can find all my YouTube drops. You can find my Twitter at the PsychSensei. You can find my Discord. You can find my TikToks. All of it there. My LinkedIn. All of it there on my website, PsychSensei.com. Yo, it's been a hot minute since I've been here. It's been like 2 weeks. It was crazy spending time in Japan to learn, a different culture, to be immersed in it, to take a tour around a lot of places and spend 1,000+ hours in a bus. So it was really fun, very relaxing. Ate a lot of good food. I held an otter. That was pretty sweet. I would say that was definitely a highlight of the trip, holding an otter. If you haven't held an otter, they're so soft and their hands are just so dexterous. I didn't realize how handsy they were for otters. Got to see a bunch of temples and shrines and lots of spiritual, places in Japan, which is pretty cool. There was another animal that I got to touch. Deers are crazy in Japan, and they want senbei, and you have to give them senbei. It's so cute. But I'm happy to be back here in the studio, and I think I'll only be here this week, and then next week, leaving on the 10th, I will be, I believe it's Abu Dhabi. I believe I will be out of town for about a week until the 18th. And so, I know, I've been teasing the Hot Wings Challenge for the 10th, or the 17th, but I probably will have to push it back a little closer to Christmas, so be on the lookout for that. I'm still going to do it. We have it all planned out, so we will be doing the hot chicken challenge to get to know your sensei a little bit more, so it should be really fun. So again, probably after the 18th, because I'll be out of town one more time. So today, we are going to be talking about a very interesting concept. I was talking with a team recently, and there was some, discussion about ego and sharing of ideas and how we can make sure that we can hear each other and explain our points of view and make sure that we're playing as a team. And, bye, Dobbies. And something that was really, really interesting was the concept of ego came up. And the question that one of the players kind of said was, hey, you're talking about ego like it's a bad thing. And I was like, is ego a bad thing? So that led us to a greater discussion about ego. And I would love, for your perspective on ego and, how you think ego helps or may take away from your gameplay or the team's gameplay as a whole. So again, I want this to be a discussion. So if you guys want to let me know what you think about ego, how you use it, how it's maybe gotten in the way, or maybe how it's pushed you to be a better person and player. And about this discussion is definitely, it's supposed to be that. It's a discussion or thought experiment to talk about ego, see what it is, how we can use it, and sometimes how it gets in the way. So, if you guys have questions or opinions or thoughts about ego in your experience, this is a chat. Put it in there. Let's talk about it, because it's just going to be me talking to myself otherwise. And damn, is that not egotistical? Whew. Yo, what's up, baby? Check your DMs. I will for sure. All right, so let's get into the room, shall we? So, today's topic. Is ego bad? I think when people think about ego or having a very strong ego, they think about people, players, coaches who may push, their perspective. They may really hold on to what they're thinking about, or they're unwilling to listen or be flexible in what people are saying, or different perspectives of how the game could be played, or theory crafted, what have you. And so maybe in those ways, ego is bad. And why is ego bad in those? Because it stops you from being open to experience. I mean, yes, I think it's good if you're able to listen and understand and see other people's perspectives, but where does ego then become a negative thing? So let's see here. Okay, so when does ego become bad? Because maybe the other question we need to ask is ego good? And so maybe that's a bait and we just put ego here. All right, so ego, is it good or is it bad? So let's make some lists. How in some ways can ego be bad? Well, sometimes it can limit your perspective of what you see, or what can you see, or what you allow yourself to see. I think one of the best answers that I've come to find, especially in psychology, and if you're a lawyer, I'm sure in law also, when someone asks you, is this good or is this bad? Is this better or is this best? The answer that I find myself running into oftentimes is not yes or no or always or never. Really, the answer that I always come into is it depends. It depends. And why does it depend? It's, well, depends how you use it, or what kind of gets in your way, or how sometimes it can may get confused. So sometimes ego is bad because it limits your perspective. What are some other ways that ego could be bad? Well, another way that ego could be bad is it shuts down conversation. Because if my ego is too strong about a situation, a perspective, or a way of thinking, then I don't allow other people to say anything. I don't even want to be open to it about what could happen, or in this figurative, or in another situation, or what have you. So again, maybe this one, it limits openness. And when we talk about ego bad, we're taking it to an extreme, right? We're not talking about, oh, is ego, like having an ego, is it good or bad? We're talking when things get taken to an extreme. And so when things get taken to an extreme and they shut down conversation, or the perspective is not open to the conversation, or they're not really open to any types of seeing differences, this is what we're talking about. When an ego is too strong. When an ego is too strong, this is when things get kind of dicey, right? At the same time, well, maybe that's a thing we can talk about. Okay, if it's too strong. Okay, maybe that's where this goes instead. Maybe that's the preference here. It's not if it's good or bad, but again, maybe it's a strength thing. When the ego is too strong, these are things that can happen when it's too strong. Because at the same time, ego could also be bad if it's too weak and it doesn't exist. So what do I mean by an ego being too weak? You know, like when somebody goes and asks another person, or like, oh, what do you want to eat? And they're like, oh, whatever. I'm down for whatever. Or like they have no preferences, or they have no perspective about whatever, and it's like kind of hard to understand what this person is thinking or seeing. Woo! Thank you for the follow, my friend. Thank you for the follow. When this other person is thinking, or you don't know what this person is thinking, or who this person is, because they're either too chill, down for whatever, or, you know, they don't like conflict or whatever. So it's like, oh, what do you want? Anything. Or what do you think? It's whatever. Or I don't know. Or what do you get from that? Nothing. There's no ego. Like, this person doesn't exist. There's no thoughts. There's no preferences. There's no angle for a conversation, because it's just existing. Woo! Thank you for the follow, love Borgers. Thank you. Welcome to office hours. Yeah, so too weak. What happens here? There's nothing. There's no conversation. There's no preferences. There's no thoughts. I mean, preferences, thoughts, opinions. Oh my god, spelling. Boom. There's none of these things. So how can you create a conversation or a dialogue or or understand anything if your ego is too weak, right? Again, we're taking ego to extremes, right? That's all we're talking about. When it's either too strong or too weak, because like Goldilocks, we want something straight in the middle, just right, where we can do all these things. So again, this is where the conversation is going. So, I mean, other things that might happen if you have too strong of an ego, which is really interesting that, you know, I wonder if you guys experience this too, is if something is too strong and the perspective is incorrect, what happens? Like, if it's too strong, the perspective is incorrect, or they make a mistake, like, that's another thing that happens. What have you found, or in your experience, when people with strong egos may not exactly have the correct answer, or maybe they make a mistake and they're not able to see it? What happens when ego is too strong? They don't learn. Very good. They don't learn. I like that. I like that. Consequences, right? We're here. Consequences. What happens after this? A very common things that happen is, yes, they don't learn. And why don't they not learn? Or what makes learning hard? I think this is a very interesting question for you. Why don't you think they learn from mistakes or consequences if ego is too strong? Think about it. What happens typically? Where do people point to? L ratio, big ego, bro. Honestly, that's what happens. So typical consequences of when people have big egos, they don't learn because often they blame, right? They blame, or there's some type of reason or an excuse that's kind of built in here that doesn't involve them, or something that they can do in the future to make sure that they don't make that mistake again. Because typically what you hear sometimes that people take their ego and it's too strong, they're inflexibles. Absolutely. Issues are outside of their control. Absolutely. And sometimes there's some type of, what is the word? Confirmation bias that limits their perspective. Maybe confirmation bias goes here. Right? And what you, like, a common example of when this happens is if their ego is too strong and you present them with a play, or they're looking back, or, you know, sometimes maybe this even happens to you. I'm sure this happens to me. We all have our blind spots, right? When you go and review a play, or you go review what happened, typically they'll say something like, this would have worked if only blah, 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 blah. This would have worked if only this player didn't die here, or if they positioned better, or if I just killed them, it would have been fine. Or, you know, that play was bad, but if I only just shot them, everything would have been fine, which is true. I mean, you can't argue with that point of, if this thing happened, it would have been fine. But at the same time, are they able to generalize this thing, this concept, this idea to more situations than this one we're talking about right here? And so sometimes why this happens, and what I think the not learning may come from, ego protection. Maybe ego protection. I mean, I think that's all a consequence. I mean, it all makes sense. Why won't you delete? This new node just really wants to be here. Eh? Okay, well, that works too. So again, I think this definitely gets in the way of the learning, this ego protection, because it feels bad to be wrong. I mean, we all can agree that it feels bad to be wrong. It feels bad when we make a mistake. And sometimes it feels even worse to admit it to other people that we fucked up. But at the same time, that's games, bro. Like, that's entire life. That is messing up and making mistakes. That's like hand in hand with victory. Like, you have to fuck up. You have to make mistakes. You have to take risks and be willing to put your ego on the line to get better. But the question is not, can I play this and not make any mistakes? The question is, can I make mistakes and pick myself up and move forward so I don't make those mistakes again? Because what's even more irritating than making mistakes is making the same mistake over and over and over again and thinking it must be all of these things versus what can I do think ego. Do I think ego kills friendships, or the statement stands ego kills friendships? Because the point, I mean, yeah, sometimes I think where, you know, in friendships, I mean, if we're going to take this purely away from the game, right, and we talk about friends and social relationships, what that is basically you have an ego, this other ego exists, and can we coexist with these perspectives about certain things? That's all good, bro. It's all good. Of course, I think sometimes if friends' egos are too strong and they're like, this is, you know, my way or the highway, or I want friendships to be like this, or I expect you to do things like this, and your ego, and you're saying like, no, that's not fair, or I'm not willing to do that, then yeah, I think definitely egos can kill friendships. And I mean, let's throw this back into games. Have you ever tried to play, you know, a high stress game with your friends? And you have maybe one friend that's better than you or worse than you, and you have an idea of how the game could be played, or they have an idea of how the game could be played, and you reach this impasse where it's like, oh, this is the better play. And they're like, nah, dude, this is the better play. And then when you get into it, you guys can kind of agree to disagree, but then at the same time, you're like, oh man, I can't believe Yami thinks like that, bro. Like, if Yami was smarter or a better player, he would understand, or she would understand, or they would understand this perspective. But because they're so low elo or whatever, they just don't get it. But then you think, oh my god, this medic guy, bro, like, they're so stuck in this way, and they just think that if they could ego chow everything or just ego peak everything, then they would win because they have the op, right? And then you have this impasse, and it's like, now we're not friends anymore because I don't want to play with medic because all he wants to do is not cover my back in op. And Yami, they think and they think like, man, I can't believe they're not peaking because they're just like such a panty, you know what I mean? Shout out to medic, bro. He peaks everything. I love it. What's up, Rainbow? What's up, baby girl? So yeah, when I think about ego and where it gets, you know, goes on the bad end, I think it comes down to ego protection, and then they look for confirmation, you know, things or reasons to confirm their point of view. Oftentimes they have a scapegoat excuse, if only the yeah buts come. But really, it's really interesting when this happens, because the thought is, have you ever thought about this? Or what if you did think about this? How could it be different? Or, you know, how could we replicate what you're saying so we can play better together? Because if you think about games, yeah, you can have any idea is the correct one, oftentimes, or more correct one or less correct one, whatever. But the thing that happens most often that's most important is it doesn't matter if your idea is correct or if my idea is correct. The most correct idea is the one that we do together wholeheartedly. That idea often works out a lot better than if we have competing ideas, because at least if we both know what we're going to do together, I can count on you and you can count on me, versus I'm going to do this and I think you're going to do this because that's what you're supposed to do from my perspective, but then you don't because you have your own perspective. So then it really doesn't matter if whose idea is best, but what is best is the one that we do as a team. And most of these games are team-based games. And yes, this is more challenging because I'm talking about coordinated team play. And yeah, sometimes you got that in solo queue, but oftentimes you're not. But just in general, what we're talking about is bad ego, good ego. Or when egos are good and bad. And of course, we're talking about is it depends. Bing, 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 bing. But here's the thing. There's a question I want to throw out to you in chat. Like, what do you think is more irritating? Somebody with a super strong ego and tells you what they think, or someone with too weak of an ego and it's like, yeah, whatever, man, wherever you want to go, like, that sounds good, you know, and they just kind of tag around, or, you know, they don't give you anything. Like, I don't know, you know, if you had a preference, you know, what would you want? Someone with too strong of an ego, or someone with too weak of an ego that just doesn't exist? And here's the thing too. I think maybe this is a different conversation we can have. Okay, this is the question that I have. That is another, when I think about egos. Oh, poll up. Thank you, Rainbow. Prof Psych, it depends if it's a personal setting or performance setting. Oh, this is just your opinion, man. I'm just curious of what you think is more irritating. What's more irritating for you? There's no correct answer. It's just your own personal preference, right? Okay. Another thing that I think that happens, or maybe that you can draw from both too strong or, a good or bad ego, is the concept of being right. And I think this is a very important value that gets stepped on oftentimes when people are discussing things or having an ego about a certain concept, idea, or play. Like, it's very interesting because when I listen to players or when I listen to conversations, something that I really listen for is values. And because oftentimes when tilt comes or frustration comes or all these things come, we actually are talking about your values upon things. Like, for example, if you have a really strong ego, oftentimes people have the value of being correct, being right, being, smart or whatever. There's some type of value here that makes them stuck in what they're seeing, that limits, again, their perspective, their openness to the conversation or new ideas of how it could be. And so I'm wondering, for you and those out there, the concept of being right and how much value you or other players, your friends, that one friend, teammates, captains, coaches, where is their perspective or value of being right or maybe even being validated in their thoughts of like, that's a good thought. That's a good idea. We should do that. Oh, too much ego is irritating. Thank you for the 3 polars. Personally, if I was going to pick one, I think at least if someone has a strong ego, in my opinion, at least I know where they stand. It may be frustrating, may be, irritating that they're like, won't budge. At least I know where they stand. I think personally, if someone's ego is too weak and they don't give me anything or they don't exist, it's kind of like, okay, what is this thing that's dittoing in front of me? And what are they really? What is this thing interested in? What is this person like? What are their thoughts? That is, when working, I think I would like strong egos are easier to read, I think, than people with no ego or weaker egos. Also, Yabo says, also depends on how strong your own ego is. Boy, now we're getting places, right? Now we're getting places. And you're ahead of the class, my dude. Yes, we're talking about others' ego. But at the same time, this is definitely a reflective process for, whoever, about your own egos. And, would you want to change it? I think this is another discussion of awareness and, just a place to think about these kinds of things and how your own ego, if too strong, if too weak, if good or bad or whatever, depends, right? How you use your ego, where it gets in your way, and how we can maybe look at your perspective and use your ego to make sure that you're open, make sure that you're open to these conversations, make sure that you have a better perspective of yourself, why you might be reacting to these things, what values this is hitting on, and so you can make better informed decisions and live the life you want to live, or play the game that you want to live, or be that player you want to be. You know what I mean? So it's all connected. Absolutely. Getting ahead of the curve, Yabo. I love it. Welcome, baby. I Love Borgers says, super strong ego makes me feel like there's no way to reach them to get a point of compromise or just to do something together without enabling their strong ego. Woo! Yep. True, though. True. We in the biz called it getting steamrolled. Like, you get steamrolled with someone's opinions or someone's thoughts. It must be this way. Something to listen to when you are listening to strong egos are always, never, these kinds of extreme types of talking, because as soon as you get into extremes or always and nevers, okay, now, is it always and never? Of course it's not always never, right? It always is. It depends. That's, if you can live in a world of gray, You know, it's really important that you see gray and how it could be either or, and then it depends in which situation can you apply that piece of knowledge to make it applicable. Huh? All right, there's definitely a competitive component. Absolutely, 100%. Pulls up, thank you. One can have low ego but not ditto-y, insert me. Yes, I'm talking about like a ditto-y would be like completely like, oh, whatever, but I'm sure, yes, everybody has a bit of ego. I have not met a complete ditto yet, although that would be very interesting, yet scary. I don't know, it would be very interesting. So I think though, with very strong egos, that the being right piece, you know, or you were right, or yes, that idea is correct, or I see where you're coming from. I think with these are stronger egos, sometimes the way that might help increase these conversations is not trying to fight fire with fire of like, this is why you're dumb, or this is why I think you're stupid, or my idea is better. I think what's more important is that you ask the questions of, you know, why do you think this? You know, in which situations would we apply this to? Or even in the end of, okay, so how can we play this to more together next time? Or what could we do? Woo! Thank you for the follow, Pierce Grizz. Appreciate you. I appreciate you. So I really do think it's the questions and exploring of the thoughts that they might have and where these things are coming from. Because oftentimes, if you fight fire with fire, you're not going to get anywhere except frustrated. Yeah? So, now, is ego, on the other hand, good? And I remember this question, the player asked me this, you know, like they basically said like, whoa, you know, Ryan, through this discussion that we're having, you're making it sound like ego is bad. And I was like, oh, damn, is ego bad? And then my immediate reaction was like, ego isn't bad. Like, you need ego to a certain extent. Like, you need to have some sort of, I believe this, I think this, I'm confident in this. And ego, to a certain extent, is good because confidence. Like, you need a certain amount of ego to be like, this is what I think. I can confidently say this is what I believe, and this is why. And so this ego is great because you need to have that sense of self. Maybe the word is self-efficacy. Right? That I can do these things because I have this information, and because I have this confidence, I believe that I can do this. No, thank you, Medic. Thank you. I wish I was right about everything all the time. But I too have a strong enough ego to say I know nothing about everything. But enough about some things. All right, I'm very much a disagreeer. I am terrified as I do it. XD. Ego is good because it eliminates confusions, adds certainty. Absolutely, right? Like, you do have this level of certainty or this level of confidence when you do have an ego, right? I think this because of these reasons, and I can explain myself of why I think these thoughts. That's awesome. You need that because, like, if you don't have an ego, be like, well, what do you think we should have done in this play? I mean, I think we should have, I don't know, man. What do you want me to do? And then your players, your teammates, or your coaches are like, what are you talking about, bro? Like, you have to have a thought here. Thanks for the follow, Desmond. Like, what do you think? And you see these people panic, like, I don't know, right? So having a sense of ego and understanding where your ego comes from, what it's based on, you know, why it's good, because again, you have values here. Values are embedded in your ego. And from your ego, you can say decisions come from here. Like, these are all great things to have. Be confident, you know, have a sense of self-efficacy where you can do it. Woo! Thanks, Pac-Adan. Thank you. I should really put up the follow thing. Why isn't it? Oh, it is coming up. There it is. Let's put it in the corner. Woo! Thank you. So, these things are great. These things are really, really good. But again, this also comes in when it goes bad is if it's too strong. I think these things are all great to have, but if we overuse our ego, or if we're too confident in what we think and why we think it, it prevents us from understanding other people's perspective. So is it good? Yes. But again, when it becomes bad is when it's too strong. So my question to everyone here, or the ones listening, would be, how do you know? How do you know? Like, how do you know if your ego is too good or too bad? Because I think the biggest thing that I want to make sure that we all understand, or that we can have a discussion about, or some self-reflection about, is what gets in your way. Because having a good ego or good ego, using your ego in a more positive way, you can be confident and self-assured and feel good and not be worried about making mistakes, right? Like, these are all good, that you're a good player, or a good coach, have a good brain, all these kinds of things. These are great. At the same time, when does it go the other way? Okay. I love boogers. I have no clue. We'll get to it, baby. Hooked on Phones says, hi, I want to offer a promotion to your channel. Oh, yes. I will do that. Thank you, Hooked on Phones. AJ, oh my God. How do your environment / those around you respond to you? I think, yeah, that's great. I like that. Ever get into a discussion? It starts off as like maybe friendly banter. And then it turns into, oh my God, I can't believe this person is thinking this. And if you haven't had this in game, I mean, I'm sure you've had this with an older person and Facebook research. Something about something. I'm sure you had this like conversation about what all this means in the world, or what I read on Facebook, and blah, 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 blah. Insert politics, January 6th, what have you. Blah, 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 blah. Then you get into this ego fight, right? But really, like, how do you know? So what are your blind spots, or how do you know when these things are happening? Typically, what I've found is that you understand when the conversation, or maybe your ego, is getting in the way when it comes down to being right. This is the best way, and this is why. And if you don't think this, you're dumb. Because, yeah, it may be the best way in this one situation or this one scenario, but how can we generalize it in a bigger sense where it fits more often? So oftentimes, if this gets into a I'm right, you're wrong, there's I'm smart, you're stupid, always, never, perhaps for you, this could be a moment where ego might be getting in the way. Another thing to think about would be thinking about, like, are you not asking enough questions? Because oftentimes when you get into ego battle, it's I think this, you're wrong, or I think this, well, I think this. Okay, well, why do you think this? Where is this coming from? Where are you referencing these things for? Because I'm trying to understand your perspective. Another thing that might key into that your ego is getting into the way is you stop listening. I've stopped listening, and instead of listening, I'm now thinking of rebuttals. Did I spell that wrong? Yes, rebuttals. I'm now thinking of a counterpoint to your point before I've even listened to your point. Or maybe this could be cutting people off. You pull the Kanye West to the Taylor Swift. I'm gonna cut you off, Taylor, and I'm just gonna say what I gotta say because I'm not listening to you anymore. And if you find yourself doing these things, or if you find yourself not doing this, this is another huge one that shuts down conversations all the freaking time. I've stopped being curious about what this person is saying. I've stopped being curious about why they might be thinking, feeling, believing this thing. I'm done, right? If you've noticed that this may have, stopped the conversation, maybe you have full information, maybe it's ego. Either way, you're no longer having a conversation. You're no longer talking. You're no longer thinking. I'm just done with this, you know? And so again, this could be an ego thing. This could be an information thing, but these things to me make it seem that maybe ego is getting in the way. All right. Pierce says, I feel even when ego is good, it's sometimes built divides in teams I've coached because they don't want to listen to each other. Ooh, boy, facts. There is no self-reflection and how it affects team dynamics. Oh, bro, feel that. I think it's how they react to input in a conversation. Absolutely. Because I think you're absolutely right, Pierce. And I've also experienced this myself, where it's kind of like, okay, cool. What's the point of fighting? Like, okay, we're talking about this one thing, this one specific example, this one specific play. And now when we watch the VOD, right, we have full 2020 hindsight bias too of how the game played out, how the scenario played out, what the results were. And now we can use that deductive process of we won the game, or we got a kill, or we're up gold, or we're up, you know, guns or whatever to your game. And because of that, it was the right decision. But was it? That's the question. But was it? In this one situation, it may have been. But the situation could be 1 in a million, 1 in 1,000, 1 in 100, and it may never, ever happen again. And so at this point, we're measuring PPs for no reason because, yeah, in this one play, you were correct. And this other person would have been correct too if they killed that person, or if that person wasn't here, or if they heard footsteps, or blah, 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 blah. Absolutely. Then we use confirmation to back up our point. And the real question, though, then becomes, okay, what do you want to do in the future? How are we going to play together as a team so we can get a better result more consistently? And that's where people get stuck. I think that's the most frustrating part. That's where people get stuck. They say, well, I don't know. Or like, well, I say it's going to be like this, so this is where we're going to play it. And the other person be like, you know, I'm going to say I agree with them, but at the same time, I'm still salty about losing this point. And so now I'm just going to not. Ego, good question. Good question. I'm defining ego as, you know, someone's perspective or someone's belief in something, maybe themselves, their thoughts, you know, their perspective that, you know, this is where I stand. And so that's how I'm defining ego. Good question, because ego can mean a lot of things. So it depends, right? So the most important thing that I think is even more interesting from this conversation is, when does your ego get in the way? And when you do get into an ego fight, is ego defined by a goal or a process? It could be. It could be. You could have an ego about a goal or how to get to the goal or how to do a process to get a specific result because, you know, I think this way is the best way, or I think this route is the best way to achieve my goal. And, you know, what I've learned and what I've experienced is there's many ways to get to somewhere. You know, for example, just like Google Maps, if you do make a left turn and it's not the correct turn, Google Maps doesn't say, oh my God, I can't believe you thought this was more optimal, or I can't believe you missed this turn, you dumb dummy, or I've been telling you 4 streets behind that we got a freaking left turn coming up, but you decide to turn right. No. You know why? Because there's probably another right turn. You can get there. It may take you a little bit longer, but you're still going to get to McDonald's. It's still going to get there. And the way may be different, maybe longer, maybe shorter, maybe bumpier, but you're still going to get that Big Mac. You know, so just like games too, there's many ways to win a game. There's many strategies. There's many compositions. There's many metas that you can play. Depending on the level, depending where you are, depending how fast you want to get there. There's many ways. Woo! Thanks for the follow, Aziz. Thank you, baby. Like, there's many ways to get there. It just may take a different route, maybe taking more time, you know, and different people need different ways, and it doesn't really matter. The main thing is that you get to McDonald's. So for you, you know, when that happens, what do you want? Okay? Pierce says, in one map it may matter, but in 5 maps it doesn't. Absolutely. It's how do we overcome and put our best foot forward instead of arguing and regressing by being selfish. I think it should be a team ego. Oh my god, you're preaching to the choir, baby. I love it. Absolutely. And thank you for the follow. Much don't about nothing. Love ya. All right. Instead, I think it should be team ego. Like, hey, we are so good, not player ego. I'm gonna ego going, I am good. What's wrong with player A? Absolutely. I think that's what people don't understand. And that's I guess is like, at the same time, it's kind of maybe no fault to the players because, well, I mean, it is, but it isn't. Because, I mean, think about solo queue, right? Think about any solo queue you play. You're playing as a team, but not everybody has the same objective. You know what I mean? Like, you assume everybody wants to win, but if you played League of Legends before, not everybody wants to win in the same way, or they're playing a different game because I just tilt queued. I don't even give a crap. This person picked Master Yi top, and I'm gone already. It doesn't even matter. I'm gonna lose because this guy picked Yi, and it's over. GG, right? And so if you're bred to play these games alone, and really the latter favors individual play and not always team play, absolutely. Call of Duty 2. It happens all the time. I'm going to go get the best KDA. It doesn't matter about the team. I just want the best stats. Or I want to look good and have the crazy ass plays. Like, it happens everywhere. Absolutely. And so even the system in which we're taught to play games, there's no Little League Call of Duty where you have a coach to say, okay, listen, you guys are individual gunplay, but at the same time, we're going to run all together to take these sites or to take this hill all together. We're going to break it this way together. It's, all right, well, you guys got really good at the ladder, and now we're going to scout you, and I'm going to pull individual pieces to make this team. And now, because you've been trained by yourself, now I want you to play together, but I've never learned really how to play together. So esports in general right now, and I think it's changing because we're introducing esports at the high school level, middle school level, where we can teach teams to play together to be an actual team, which is great. But if you look at the ecosystem, how people come up, it's all through solo queue, mostly, like 90%. And so if you were bred and taught how to have an ego, and typically the strongest ego wins, maybe, or, you know, whatever, they float to the top, that's what we're dealing with. But absolutely, there's a process of, I wouldn't say submission, because we don't need to submit to another player of saying, yes, you're completely right, I'm going to do this. You know, some teams work and operate like that. But at the same time, there does need to be a compromise or a give and take. It is a relationship of, okay, you want to do it this way. I see for the team that works best this way. And even though I want to do it this way, if we're all going to do it this way together, then that's what we're going to do. At the same time, you know what often lacks through this? Trust. I think that's where sometimes it falls apart, because if our ego is too strong, then we may not trust other people in what they are thinking or what they believe. And then if we don't trust it, then we don't act upon it. And then how can we build a team with no trust? That is really hard. You can't have a relationship without trust. I think that's like the foundations of a team. I need to be able to count on you that you're going to be here or play this way, that we both see it in the similar way. Because if I think you're going to be somewhere and you're not, and you do that 1, 2, 3 times, in the future, it would be stupid of me to think you're going to be there for the 4th time. And so how do we create that trust, right? We need to be able to create this team identity where we can understand how we're going to play together, and I can depend on that other person. That's where trust comes from. All right. Okay. I got. All right. Much says, I think ego speaks to different systems in individual play versus group play. Absolutely. In individual play, you can rely on heuristic-based fast thinking to inform your best actions. Yes. In team play, you need to be more deliberate to consider your position of your teammates, which don't fall immediately into intuition, thinking slow. Absolutely. This is 100% true. much. I think that's very, very true, because, you know, if you're by yourself, you don't need to think about anybody else. You can just make plays, and I mean, you don't need to talk. I mean, I'm trying to think about like a Fortnite player, or like a BR player, like talking what they want to do to themselves, but I haven't experienced that yet, although that'd be cool. But yes, I think where teams want to be, you know, the whole what is the phrase? Smooth is slow and slow is fast, or sorry, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. I think that's the phrase for like snipers and like the US Army, right? Because they understand that if you are moving smoothly, it's slow, but if you're moving smooth, like it's slow, but if you're doing it probably faster than not, right? So in the same way, like if you're thinking by yourself, you can do it quickly, but if you need to communicate or create a system around all of us being on a team and knowing what we're doing, it's going to take a little bit more time. But if I can count on you and I know what you're going to do, then we can move from low context communication, which is basically what I say is what I mean. I need to do these things and it takes a little bit longer, to more high context communication where I can say door and you know this crazy door play is going to happen, or dive, and you know already that we're going to dive this bot lane or whatever. Like, you don't need to say coming in 3 minutes or how's your lane. When I say dive, we're going. You know, that's more high context communication. But where that comes from is by creating this team ego, this team identity, this team system, this mental model that we all can follow and we can all play together. But as soon as someone goes left when I think they're going right, that's going to throw stuff off. All right. Pierre says, I feel like the problem with ego comes from stats, and we are all the ones at fault who always push. Stats are the biggest factor to a player's performance, not leadership, conversational skills, and teamwork. Bro, okay, stats is a double-edged sword. Like, on that note, stats is a double-edged sword where, yes, you need an observable, measurable number thing that we can rank order players or what's good and what's bad. But absolutely, Pierce, what you're saying, leadership, how do you objectify leadership, you know? Or how do you objectify a leader that will lead this type of team? You know, conversational skills, absolutely, like that's important. Teamwork's important, but the hard part to quantify are those things. But yes, the things that cannot be quantified, in my opinion, are the most important things, because we've seen it time and time again, haven't we? Like from the Lakers, who had like Meta World Peace, Kobe Bryant, Steve Nash, Dwight Howard, and one more person that I'm forgetting. Like, they were amazing 5 individual players that could do crazy numbers of stats. They were absolute garbo together. You'll see this with teams. They have a star-studded roster of these God-given mechanical players that have crazy stats, but their egos or ways of seeing the game or personalities just clash, and they're unable to do the things that they need to do to play the game. Why? Because these things that you can't measure, they didn't consider, and now it's just a hunk of shit. That's really sad to watch. You know what I mean? Like, this happens all the time. So, yes, I do think you're on the right path, Pierce, of how do we quantify these unquantifiable qualities that often win games. Thanks, Doctor Who. Thank you. A fighting game player, maybe. Oh yeah, dude, I would love to watch a fighting game player. It's just like self-talk the entire time. Left kick, right kick, up. That'd be so intense, bro. Okay, Yavo says, one thing my Overwatch coach said that stuck with me is that 6 people following one bad plan is so much better than everyone following their own plan, even though it might be better. That is absolutely correct. Because at the end of the day, if you have 6 players playing individual plans, and at the end, one player just says, I told you so. I told you if we just did this, we would have been fine. Guess what? Y'all lost. Great. I mean, you're completely right. Now, what? That doesn't erase the L? That, like, is that just like I said, is that an ego check? With the value of needing to be right? Does that person need to be validated? Like, yeah, that was a good thought. I'm so sorry. You were absolutely correct. Who cares at that point? An L is still an L, and guess what? The L is all of us because we're on this team. So, if that's true, and you notice this, the whole important part for you too is thinking about when you get ego checked, or when you're dealing with someone with a big ego, or maybe when your ego gets in the way, what is the value that's getting hit on for you? Is it the needing to be right? Is it the I wish I could say I told you so? Is it the, well, I had this plan and no one followed it, but I knew that maybe this is a sense of goodness? Maybe that's where it goes to? Like this value? I don't know. But for you, what is it? I think for me, sometimes when my ego gets in the way, it's the I told you so for me. It's the I knew we should have done this play. Why didn't we do it? And fine, we didn't do it. And then we all lost. And because we lost, it was your fault because my plan was better. You know? Maybe that's my own bad habit when it happens. Another bad habit sometimes of mine is even if I think or I agree that we should do that thing, sometimes when I am in less cognitive faculties, what I'll do is I'll half-ass the plan. Yeah, that's what we should be doing. But I don't try my hardest. And then when my friends, like, it inevitably goes bad because, like, you have to try, right? Whatever plan you pick, yeah, but you know, like, you got to go for that plan 100%. You can't just go like, all right, well, I guess I'll do it. And it fails and be like, well, I knew it was a bad plan anyway. I told you. Like, you didn't give the plan a shot to do it just for why? For me, it's so I could be right. See, I told you that plan sucked. If you just follow my plan, it would have been better. So again, how do you know? Maybe that's another way that you know. You start sandbagging shit. Or maybe it's half-ass. Can I say that? I just did. It's my stream. Maybe when you find yourself half-assing stuff. Half-assing the actual execution of the plan. Maybe half-assing the contributions to how we should do it better. Maybe this one too. The I don't cares, whatevers. Maybe that's another thing that gets in the way. Whatever you guys want to do, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. Whatever, I don't care. Like, maybe these things, you know, when this is happening, you can key into it as like, ooh, ego check. It doesn't feel, and here's the thing, it doesn't feel good. Like, I wish this felt good. Like, oh, fuck, my ego's getting in the way. Maybe I should do something different. Like, it never feels good. Like, oh, damn. Maybe that I was being too egotistical and kind of an asshole. It never feels good, but it's good that you felt it. Because that makes me think or makes me understand or know you're thinking about these things. And that's what's more important. That you're being able to be conscious and aware that this is happening, not just like stuck in your own head. You know what I mean? I love Boger says, I think, quote, being right, for sure, my biggest flaw, even when I'm thinking I'm being open-minded, bro. I feel that. Okay, AJ says, lol, 100-degree here, especially for team shot callers. I think ego is very important to be able to make those quick decisions and have confidence, like you said. Absolutely. I love Booger says, I feel like, quote, being right mentally was confusing with thriving to be helpful. But again, too strong ego and being right getting in the way. Oh, welcome to the chat. St. Victor's. Jordan had no ego. Aces. Team coordination goes so much further than individual skills. Absolutely. Well, I'm not, again, that being said, I'm not saying individual skills are not important because that shit's super important. But sometimes, most times, what's more important is can we use our individual skills and build upon them so we can be a greater whole. Another way to think about this is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Rest in peace, Tommy. Mwah, favorite ranger. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Like, individually, they were all kind of like, okay, they had their own, like, powers and they had their own Zord and they're all kind of cool. And, you know, at first, like, they tried to, like, fist fight by their own without, like, morphing. But then, you know, one would get in trouble and have to call their other friends. And so now they're all morphed together and they're all trying to fight the putties or whatever bad guy. And if they couldn't do it, what was the next thing? They had to call their Zords. But did you ever see an individual Zord fight by themselves? No, you never saw the Tyrannosaurus Rex like fight by themselves. I think you did see the Green Ranger fight by himself because he was really dope, but that's a whole different story because he was created to be evil by Rita Repulsa, but that's a whole different story if you want to get down that train. But you never saw like the saber-toothed tiger or the woolly mammoth fight by themselves. No, 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 no. In fact, what did they always say? They'd say, it's morphin time, and then what they would do? They would make the Megazord. And the Megazord was exponentially stronger than, like, an individual Zord. Like, a Zord, right? Hell yeah, this is boner analogy. Oh, boomer. Boner, my god. Absolutely. Like, have you ever... And then, what did they need? They needed all together to make the sword, right? Like, that was the entire thing. Like, you needed all of them to come together to make the Zord to be stronger. In the same way of everybody on a team brings their own individual talents. I'll bring it back to you. I got you, AJ. I got you. Or, okay, another boomer analogy. You ready? Another boomer analogy. Okay. The Backstreet Boys. Everybody loves the Backstreet Boys, right? Versus NSYNC. Okay, NSYNC versus Backstreet Boys, another boomer thing. Thanos, another one, right? Very good with the stones. But the Backstreet Boys. Have you ever seen an individual Backstreet Boy by themselves? No. They were terrible individually. The only like boy band dude that made it was like Justin Timberlake. You did it, dude. But an individual Backstreet Boy, you never heard of them, right? Nick Lachey or Nick Carter. You never heard of Nick Carter doing his own thing. In fact, I don't even know individual Backstreet Boys. All I know is that they were grouped together and they were made classic hits and they were amazing. So there's that. So the psychology between what I'm talking about with Backstreet Boys, with the Power Rangers, all of these things is, yes, each person on a team, player, coach, support staff, what have you, they all have their individual talents. They all have their individual perspectives, beliefs, things they're good at, all these things. But that being said, they're much stronger when you add them all together versus relying on their individual talents alone. So I think that's where people get mistaken of, I'm the most powerful person on the team. And you may well be, but you're nothing without these other people next to you. May that be life, may that be a community, may that be your team. All of the above. Absolutely. Committing on team mental model. That's what we're talking about here. So today we spent a little bit of time talking about ego. You know, I think the biggest things that I definitely want all y'all to take away is ego good or bad? It depends. It depends, because ego can be good in these ways where you can be confident, you can feel like you can do it, you know what you're talking about. It helps you play and be stronger in what you think and accomplish what you want to do. At the same time, when does ego go bad? Or when can ego be worse or not so helpful? Well, of course, when it comes too strong or too weak, right? We're talking about this Goldilocks balance, this just right place. So if it's too strong, it may limit your perspective, may limit your curiosity, may shut down conversations, may stunt your ability to get to your own next level because you haven't considered different perspectives. So this is where it can definitely go awry. So check yourself. And how can you do that? How do you know when your ego is getting out of hand? Think of these things. Are you fighting? Or you really don't want to concede this point because you want to be right. You want to have that last word. You want to say, ha, I knew it. Told you so. You know, do you just want to be hurt? Like, do you just want to hear that you were right, man? Like, that was a good idea. Like, what do you want? Or have you stopped listening? Have you stopped listening, considering, being open to what this other person may be saying, why they might be saying it, what information they're bringing to the table that you may integrate into your own perspective to level up your game or level up your thoughts? Have you stopped being curious about what, why, and how? Or what this person is thinking about or why? Have you found yourself half-assing plans or going with stuff but not really doing it all the way or just being kind of salty? Oh, maybe that's it, right? Being salty. I guess butthurt goes here too. Like, are you just being salty or butthurt? This is good to think about too. Or have you just got this level of apathy? I don't care. Whatever you want to do, man. We'll do that. That sounds good. Whatever. So check yourself. You know, this is not, again, these conversations, these discussions, it's not meant to be a guilt and shame exercise. Again, the only reason I'm bringing this up is we had a really interesting conversation within one of my teams that we're talking about ego and is it good or is it bad? All right. So, you know, you can now think, where does your ego lie? Is it, and here's the best thing. Your ego's not always one place or another, right? It's fluid. It's fluid. You can be super confident and have a bunch of ego about something, like I do for the Power Rangers. But in other places, it may be, you know, bad in other ways where I don't know much, but I'm going to cling on to it, or some ideas that I think about for this one reason because I haven't thought about it. Ooh, that's a good one, right? Confidence versus ego. Very good. I mean, you can be confident about something, but at the same time, is your confidence getting in the way from you being open to do other stuff, right? Good thing, War Lotus. So this is just a conversation to think about. So, you know, next week or, you know, Wednesday when I come back, we can think about this again, or give me your reflections about, you know, what you thought about your ego. How has it gotten in the way? At the same time, how has it helped you or pushed yourself forward? Because it's good to have ego, just not too strong or not too weak. Just right. That's what we're shooting for. Somewhere in the middle. But yeah. Thank you for the discussion. This was so much fun. And if you want, what I'll be doing is I can download this and post it onto my Discord. And if you'd like to find my Discord, there's a link to it in the chat. Or you can go to my website, PsychSensei.com. You'll find all my links there. My Twitter's there if you want to follow me, never miss a thought, at the PsychSensei. You can follow me on Twitch. Thank you for some that you are here. Duh. Also, what else I got? LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube. Thanks for the followers, Lotus. Thank you. Appreciate it. You can find all those things at my website, PsychSensei.com. And also, if you want to work with me on a personal basis, one-on-one, you can fill out a consultation form and you and I can sit down and find out your win condition and work towards it today. So all those things can be found on my website, PsychSensei.com. All right. Also, again, apologies. I know that I've been saying, dude, love you. Oh, thank you for the subscribe. Thank you. I know I've been saying that, I will be doing the Hot Chicken Fest or Hot Chicken Get to Know Your Sensei on the 10th. Whoo, that's what I was waiting for. Thank you. Absolutely. Come back for more psychology. I'll be here every week. I know I've been pushing back the Hot Chicken Challenge, but it was supposed to be on the 10th, but I'll be coming back on the 18th. So we're planning either right before, you know, Christmas or what after, my Hot Chicken Challenge of you actually will get to see Mimi too, or Memers too. Yes, we're supposed to be going on the 7th, but rip, I will probably be going on a trip. So after that, be back on the 18th around there. And we're gonna do it live. And I'll be eating hot chicken while answering questions, personal questions about me. If you want to get to know me more, if you want to know about psychology, I will be struggling. I will be sweating. I do not do good with hot food, but for the stream, sounds like a good time. I will be going to Abu Dhabi. I believe I'm pretty excited to go to Abu Dhabi. Never been before. Super excited. So yes, so hot chicken stream, post the 10th, post 18th. Stay tuned. Don't worry. Super excited for it. Other things that I need to do. Oh, yes. Tomorrow, Wednesday, I'll be back same time, shooting for 6 p.m. PST. Seems to be a good time to do these kinds of office-hours discussions. Oh, shit. One last thing. I put on my Twitter that I was going to answer one question from Caleb. So Caleb says, how does one develop a stable ego? Very good question. Such that belief in ourselves, not dependent on the outcome, grade, social interaction, etc. That is a very, very good question, Caleb, who submitted the question via my Twitter. So if you want to follow me and submit questions, then I can answer them here too. I would say how you develop a stable ego is you really see what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how you're doing it. And all this comes from being intentional. Because I think that when you don't have information, you don't have reasons, you don't have a base for your thoughts or experience in what you're trying to do and have reasons and can say and explain where this is coming from, I think that's where the ego gets a little rigid. And what happens sometimes when you don't know, or you know one way, or whatever, have a limited perspective, you have to double down on that oftentimes, because this is all I know and this is why I think it. Why are you getting so mad at me? And then you get defensive about your thoughts versus being open to, okay, I didn't think about that. I'm being confident in understanding where this might be coming from. So you could, when I can tell when people have like stronger egos or whatever, my question is like, have you thought about this before? And it's fine if you haven't thought about this, because let's play with it. But oftentimes, if you have a weaker ego, people want to just say what they want to say, and because I said so at the end. And I don't know, personally, if because I said so, like, have to, like, if that's the reason of why this is because I said so, I'm an adult or whatever. You hated it as a kid. So, I don't think that gives really rise to a good discussion or people to actually buy into your idea of why you think this thing. So having information, having experience, and I think being open in understanding other people's perspectives or otherwise, and being able to integrate that into your own perspective, I really do think that you can have a stable ego. One other thing that I think might help your ego is being able to understand that you don't know everything and being open to being wrong. I think the more accepting and okay with falling down, being wrong, seeing how other ideas could be better or different or help you, once you're able to understand that, your ego gets stronger, because I don't have to be right all the time. I have other things to be confident in, such I'm a confident learner. And if I'm a confident learner and I learn that I know nothing, then I can be confident that I'll always understand or soak things in so I can apply it differently. So I think when you are able to put your confidence in other things besides being the smartest person in the room, I have to be right, I have to be validated, your ego becomes much more stable. Thank you. Very informative. Yes. Didn't realize how intentional your things have to be. Absolutely. In order to form a stable ego. Then you become an open learner. Yep. Absolutely. And that's where all gaming comes from, right? Like if you think about gaming and skills, and this is all learning, like skill acquisition, it's learning. Sure, it's God-given talent to a certain point, because everyone's born with their own gifts and talents and abilities. By a certain point, we're talking about skills, and skills can be grown. Again, the skill of lowering your ego and developing it, that's a skill, right? We're not even like always born with super strong egos or whatever, but we develop them over time. And the same way, you can develop to see your own blind spots. You can see how to develop your own ego to be the best one that works for you. Sick. I want to see if I've got any other questions on the Twitters, but I do not. So thank you so much for coming. So much. Thank you for the subscribe. Appreciate it. Where's Lotus? All of you followers, thank you so much. Let's go down the list. Much about nothing. Thank you. Azus, thank you. Pac Anan, thank you. Desmond, thank you. Peace Grills, thank you. I love Bogers, thank you. Yabo, thank you. Thank you. Gaming is about self for the most part, but esports about learning and others. I would extend them to both. Absolutely. Gaming is about, not only about yourself too, but you can extend it, especially if you're playing multiplayer games. But yes, absolutely. I love that. Let's end with that. Thank you, Pierce. So again, thank you for all the follows. Thank you for the subscribe. And I will be back Wednesday, 6 p.m. PST for another office hours. Bring your questions. If you want another topic or whatever, send me a tweet at me. We can make a whole nother conversation, because this came from a singular question of, is ego bad, Ryan? And an hour later. All right, friends. You guys have a nice evening. Thanks for coming. As always, my name is Dr. Ryan Terao, your PsychSensei, and I want you to remember, stronger mental wins, baby. Mwah. Love you. Pieces. Bye.